Are you all in? Sales is a science that can be taught to almost everyone. However, that doesn't mean everyone will be equally successful at it. While the fundamentals can be taught, a winning attitude, a positive mindset, and 100% commitment cannot. To be great in sales, you need to be fully committed to your sales career. Several studies have shown that when salespeople fail, more than half of the time the reasons are related to attitude, not technical skills. I often meet with college graduates who tell me that they want to try sales as a career. And every single time I tell them to not even bother. Once you've made the choice to pursue a sales career, you have to be all in. Just trying it or being 99% sure you want to be a salesperson are recipes for disaster. Successful salespeople are proud to be in sales. When they are asked at a dinner party about their profession, they will not hesitate to proudly and loudly proclaim, "I'm in sales." They believe in what they're doing, which is helping others be more successful. And they believe in the company they work for. They're certainly not embarrassed to be in sales. Yes, I've met and worked with too many talented people who were, and it never ended well. Why wouldn't you be proud of working in sales? Sales is one of the few careers that allows you to be the master of your own destiny. The more hours you work, the more calls you make, the more qualified prospects you meet, the more proposals you write and present, the more deals you will strike, and the more money you will make, assuming you are compensated on some kind of commission or bonus plan. It's as simple as that. Focus on the wins. There are not many jobs that reward productivity as much as a sales job. What's not to like? Most people will answer that question with one word: rejection. And not just any rejection, constant, daily, maybe unfair and sometimes cruel rejection. Rejection can and will happen during every single step in the sales process. The hang up on the first phone call, being turned down for a follow-up meeting, the dismissal of your concept or idea, the refusal to entertain more detailed price negotiations. Rejection happens all the time in sales. The question is how you deal with it. What sales champions understand is that what's being rejected is not themselves. They don't take it personally, understanding that rejection is part of the job. Sales is a series of defeats interrupted by revenue-generating wins. Salespeople who get too hung up on the defeats instead of remaining focused on the wins are the ones who get easily frustrated and potentially even burn out. Salespeople who stay positive throughout are the ones who eventually enjoy more and better client relationships. Once the enthusiasm about a closed deal sets in, all the rejection leading up to it is quickly forgotten. But I certainly don't want to sugarcoat it. Sales is hard. Many people can't deal with the uncertainty of wondering if a deal is closing or not, the fluctuating paychecks, the unexpected cancellations, and other obstacles that appear out of nowhere. However, rejection and uncertainty, taken together, are the main reason why salespeople make more money than most people who have to rely on a modest 2 to 3% annual cost of living raise. Know your limits. Not everyone is built to succeed in a sales hunter role, though. I've worked with many account managers who were excellent negotiators, provided incredible customer service, and were extremely well liked by their existing clients. In fact, if I as a manager ever attempted to make a change in the client's coverage, all hell would break loose, with the clients literally fighting for their account manager. But partly because these salespeople were so focused on their existing client relationships, many of them struggled mightily when it came to developing new business, overcoming objections, convincing prospects to change direction, or even setting up meetings with potential new clients in the first place. These valued colleagues ultimately succeeded in a service role, which was more tailored to their strengths. New business developers need to be comfortable with the tension and the pressure that can arise during every single step of the sales process. Don't overthink it. Have you ever worked with someone who was so analytical and so focused on having 100% of the answers that he or she rarely ever took any action? That's another type of personality that has a hard time in new business sales. I'm certainly not advocating that you don't go fully prepared into a sales call and not to research leading up to it. Far from it. But if analysis turns into paralysis, when the search for data and facts becomes so dominating that it interferes with the day-to-day selling, you will not be able to maximize your sales success. It's good to think through potential objections before a meeting. Sales champions do that. But once you start to mentally agree with these objections, You begin to unconsciously torpedo your best efforts. Despite the best and most proven sales systems, despite all the information readily available on the internet, new business sales can be messy. You will never have all the information, and you will never be able to fully anticipate what will happen on a sales call. We all have had embarrassing moments while selling. Get used to them, because you certainly can't fully avoid them. In fact, if you do, you're probably not taking enough risks. New business sales is for action-oriented people, and analysis paralysis is not a quality that will lead you to sales success. Act like a business person, not a salesperson. I'm actually pretty uncomfortable with the term sales hunter. I only used it to try to make the point that new business sales requires a very proactive mindset and approach. But would I ever want to position myself to a prospect or a client as a sales hunter? Absolutely not. People love to buy, but they hate to be sold. Unfortunately, amateurish sales techniques that have existed over many decades have given the sales profession a bad reputation. Clients want to be educated with insights and new information. They want engaging meetings with someone who understands their challenges and their business. In short, they want to deal with business people rather than salespeople. In an ideal scenario, your prospects will perceive you to be on the same level as they are. That's not an easy thing to accomplish, especially when you deal with the C-suite or business owners. To make this a reality, you have to establish yourself quickly as an expert in your area. But I'm not CEO or general manager of the company I represent. How can you expect me to do that? First, you don't have to have a title to earn someone's respect. Secondly, and more importantly, no one is expecting you to be an expert in all areas of your prospect's business. That would be impossible. You need to be an expert in the area where your expertise and the prospect's challenges and potential solutions intersect. Sometimes it's the combination of several seemingly insignificant actions that brand you as a salesperson and not a business person. I worked with several salespeople who would start out every first sales call with a prospect with, "Thank you so much for taking the time. I know how busy you must be." Not an effective way to start a meeting at all. Why? You just artificially, voluntarily, and unnecessarily lowered your level by making prospects feel they're doing you a favor by meeting with you. Trust me, the last people busy executives want to deal with are over-anxious salespeople who are literally begging for business. Positioning yourself on the same level as your counterpart takes discipline and confidence. Remind yourself of all the reasons that you should be taken seriously before every interaction with a prospect. Maybe it's the company itself. Maybe it's a success story you're responsible for. Maybe it's a new and creative idea. Conventional wisdom has long held that business-to-business sales is all about building relationships, because relationships are the foundation of sales success. The advice, build relationships first and sales will follow, has existed for decades in the sales world. However, more recent studies have shown that relationship-centric selling may be less effective than it used to be, as clients increasingly care more about value, insights, and return on investment. Relationships are still important, but a great client relationship may be the result, not the cause of successful selling. Figure 1.1, Salespeople versus Business People. Salespeople are doing most of the talking. Business people ask the right questions. Salespeople are mostly talking about their company, its capabilities, and themselves. Business people challenge with insights and new information. Salespeople are trashing the competition. Business people offer advice and are considered a resource. Salespeople are only focused on the close. Business people are perceived as strategic partners, not vendors. Salespeople are begging for a test. Business people know that time is valuable and will only work on clear, mutually agreed upon assignments that include a budget figure and KPIs. Salespeople are talking about price, discounts, and special offers way too early. Business people come up with innovative solutions. Salespeople care only about hitting their monthly quota and not about the client's business. Business people determine early on how they can measure the results of their offerings at the client level. Salespeople overpromise and underdeliver. Business people execute and deliver on their promises. Salespeople use salesy language like exciting opportunity, one-of-a-kind idea, amazing offer, or we are number one, the best, the biggest, smartest, cheapest, quickest. Business people use terms like profit margin, return on investment, and competitive advantage. Salespeople think it helps the cause if you mention the prospect's first name as often as possible. Business people show confident body language, including a firm handshake and good eye contact. Mental toughness. Your mindset in approaching the sale will determine the outcome more than any other element of the sales process. If you're sitting down with a potential new client and think about all the reasons this prospect might have to not buy from you, most likely this will harm your sales results. If you wouldn't buy from yourself, why should anyone else? Instead, if you have a winner's attitude and visualize before you even meet with the prospect how you're making the sale, the way athletes visualize a win or a goal, your chances of making the sale will be much higher. Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And if you don't believe Mr. Ford, heed the words of Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all time. You have to expect things of yourself before you can do them. When coaching the iHeartMedia team in New York, one of my goals is to get the salespeople to actively visualize the call before they pick up the phone and reach out to a new prospect. What I want them to picture are not just the 850 radio stations they are representing, but the 277 million listeners these stations are reaching each month. They are visualizing the 277 million consumer relationships they are representing, and that they are willing to rent out to unaffiliated third parties like the prospect they are calling. With 277 million people, how can you not be self-confident? Thinking about your company, product, or service in that way can raise your confidence level. One of the most successful salespeople I know has the habit of pumping himself up during the elevator ride up to the prospect's floor. A fist pump combined with a loud, "It's go time," puts him in the right mental state. Once the elevator door opens, he is in his zone. Will every deal you're pursuing result in a sale because of all your optimism? Of course not. But that doesn't mean you should ever walk into a prospect meeting with anything less than the self-confidence of knowing that the prospect needs you, your company, and your product or service. In addition, your confidence level will be higher the more prepared you are, the more research you've done leading up to the call, the more effective the questions you have devised, and the better the customized solution you are about to present is. Preparation provides self-assurance. Constantly raising the bar. Being all in means you're making a conscious commitment to becoming a student of the sales game, a lifelong learner. Sales champions develop an obsession with doing things better. The reality is that if you're not consistently adding to your sales skills, not only are you running the risk of being outsold by your competition, eventually you will also become obsolete. It is mind-blowing and quite frankly shocking how few hands go up when I ask in sales trainings who is currently reading a book about sales. Thank goodness you are clearly not falling into this category, but you get my point. In an age when so much relevant information is at your fingertips, from articles and blogs to YouTube videos and podcasts, it is borderline criminal not to take advantage of it. All of us can figure out a way to carve out just 30 minutes a day, Monday through Friday, to work on our sales game. That's 2.5 hours per week, 10 hours per month, and about 125 hours per year, the equivalent of 3 full work weeks or 15 work days. You'll need the discipline to do it for longer than just a few weeks, and maybe it will even cost you $25 a month to get access to whatever information you choose. But don't you think you would experience transformative change and raise your sales game to the next level by committing to this? Trust me, it will pay off many times over. Dr. Bob Rotella, author of How Champions Think, tells the story of Paul Runyon, who won the PGA Golf Championship in 1934 and 1938. Then devoted his life to teaching golf with the same commitment and excellence he brought to competitive play. He never gave up trying to improve his own game, all the way into his 80s and even early 90s. One day, Paul was speaking at a convention for teaching professionals. He was by then around 90 years old. "Thank you so much for bringing me back. I'm thrilled to be here again this year," Paul began. "But I have to apologize to you. Last year, I promised you that I was going to practice my short game for at least 2 hours every day. I'm embarrassed to tell you that on 3 days last year, I did not honor my commitment." Any questions? The best part about committing yourself to continuous improvement is that not only will your sales skills improve, your confidence level will progress as well. Remember, attitude and confidence is half the battle in sales. Clients want to deal with the best of the best, and if you want to become part of that elite group, you have to put in the work. It's the customer, stupid. A positive attitude, commitment to personal improvement, discipline, visualizing success, grit, and resilience in the wake of objections and uncertainty will take you very far in sales. But they can't take you all the way. To unlock your full sales potential, you need a totally customer-focused mindset. Of course you want to make the sale, and of course you want to earn a big commission, but your primary motivation needs to be that you are doing right by your customer. If your number one goal in sales is to make your client more successful, you've set yourself up for a long and prosperous sales career. Think about how liberating this approach is. If you truly believe that you and the company you represent have something to offer that addresses a clear client need, suddenly the dreaded cold call starts to feel more like a favor you're doing for the people you're contacting. If you didn't call them to set up a meeting, wouldn't they miss out on an opportunity that would make a huge difference to their business? Wouldn't they be foolish not to sit down with you? You're not calling to interrupt, you're calling because you can help. Just having this different mindset makes a huge difference. Everything changes when your ultimate goal is to help your potential client.